Let's face it, building strong relationships is tough. Whether it's with a partner, family member, friend, or colleague, it feels like something always gets in the way. Misunderstandings, unrealistic expectations, communication breakdowns. It's exhausting. But what if I told you that the key to stronger, more meaningful relationships doesn't lie in complicated theories or emotional guesswork? What if the answer has been right under our noses all along in something as simple and practical as pragmatism? Yes, you heard me right. Pragmatism. This isn't some abstract philosophy. It's a powerful approach to life that's rooted in action, adaptability, and results. And when it comes to relationships, pragmatism can be the game changer you've been waiting for. Stick around, because in this video, I'm going to show you how you can apply pragmatic principles to not just improve your relationships, but transform them. We're talking real solutions here, not theoretical fluff. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start seeing real change, keep watching. Trust me, this might just be the breakthrough you've been searching for. Number 1. Say goodbye to perfect expectations. Here's a bold statement. Perfect relationships, they don't exist. And you know what? That's a good thing. Now, before you roll your eyes or hit the pause button, hear me out. What if I told you that chasing perfection in relationships is not only unrealistic, but can actually hold you back from building something real and lasting? Yes, trust me on this. It's time to say goodbye to perfect expectations and start embracing the beautifully messy human connections we're all capable of. We've all been there, thinking that a perfect relationship is just a matter of meeting the right person, saying the right things, and doing the right things at the right time. We expect no fights, no misunderstandings, no moments of doubt. But guess what? That's not only impossible, it's draining. You know the type, the one who keeps thinking, if I just say this a little differently, everything will be perfect. Or, if I just act in a certain way, they'll finally see how much I care. Sound familiar? It's like trying to hold water in your hands. You can never quite grasp it. So here's the strategy. Stop looking for perfection and start embracing the beauty of imperfection. I know this might sound like a cliché, but hear me out. The secret is in accepting flaws, not only in others but in yourself too. Perfection in relationships isn't about getting everything right. It's about being real, being raw, and learning to work through the bumps together. It's about knowing that both you and your partner will mess up, and that's okay. In fact, that's where the magic happens. When you let go of the need to control every moment, you give space for growth, for honesty, and for true connection. Let me take you back to a recent conversation I had with a friend. We've known each other for years, and for a long time we held each other to these insane standards, expecting that we should always be in sync, never have arguments, always be emotionally available. But one day, we both realized we'd been exhausting ourselves trying to maintain this perfect version of friendship that didn't even exist. So we had a raw, messy conversation about how we'd both been avoiding hard truths. There were awkward silences, even a bit of crying. But in the end, we reached a place of deep understanding, and guess what? Our relationship has never been stronger. We finally realized that perfection wasn't the goal. Realness was. And here's the emotional kicker. This is about reclaiming your peace. When you let go of perfect expectations, you free yourself from the pressure to be someone you're not. You stop pretending and start just being. No more walking on eggshells, no more overthinking every word or action. When you're okay with imperfection, you stop feeling the need to prove your worth or make up for every little mistake. You can relax, you can breathe, and you can truly connect. So, here's the bottom line. Say goodbye to perfect expectations. Your space, your peace, and your dignity don't depend on perfection. They depend on acceptance, understanding, and real raw moments. In the end, those are the things that build strong, lasting relationships, not flawless performances or immaculate planning. So go ahead, embrace the imperfection. It's the only way to make something truly beautiful. Number 2, be willing to compromise. Even when you're right. Here's a little secret. You don't always have to be right to win. Now, I know that might sound strange. After all, who doesn't love being right? But hear me out. What if I told you that sometimes, even when you're absolutely right, letting go of the need to prove it can actually strengthen your relationships? Yes, trust me on this. Sometimes the smartest move isn't holding your ground, but choosing to compromise. We've all been there, right? That moment when you're deep into a conversation and you just know you're right. Maybe it's a small thing, like the way the coffee was brewed, or something bigger, like a disagreement about a decision that impacts both of you. And then you start to feel that itch to prove your point. You've got the facts, you've got the logic, you've got all the right answers, and yet there's this little voice in your head that says, but if I just keep pushing, they'll get it. You know the type, someone who won't back down, even when the argument is spiraling out of control. We've all been there. Here's the strategy. Be willing to compromise, even when you're right. Now, before you get all defensive on me, I'm not saying you should just roll over every time. What I'm talking about here is knowing when the cost of being right is greater than the value of the relationship. Think about it. Every argument is a chance to either reinforce your ego or nurture your connection. But when you choose to compromise, even when you're right, you're signaling something powerful. You care more about the relationship than being right. And that's a game changer. Let me give you a real-life example. A few months ago, I was arguing with a close friend about an event we were planning. We were both so sure that our way was the best way. I was adamant that we should stick to my vision for the event because, well, I thought it made the most sense. But after a while, I noticed the tension building. We weren't having a conversation anymore. We were having a competition. And then it hit me. Was my need to be right more important than my friendship? I realized that by compromising, by letting go of my perfect plan, I could preserve our relationship and still create something great together. So, I backed off. And you know what? The event turned out even better than I expected. Not only did we have a blast, but my friend and I walked away feeling closer, knowing that we'd both given something up for the greater good. This is about more than just saving face. It's about protecting your peace. When you compromise, you reclaim your emotional space. You're saying, I don't need to prove myself over and over again. You stop the cycle of conflict that drains your energy, and you start creating room for empathy and understanding. It's not about being weak or conceding your position. It's about showing emotional strength. The strength to know when it's time to move on and preserve what truly matters, the relationship itself. So, here's the bottom line. Being right doesn't have to be your priority. Your peace, your dignity, and your relationships are. The next time you're in that situation, ask yourself, what matters more, winning the argument or keeping the connection? Your space, your peace, and your dignity don't depend on always being right. They depend on knowing when to compromise. That's when true strength lies. Number 3, focus on immediate needs, not long-term goals. Here's a truth that might shake you up a little. Long-term goals can be the enemy of real progress. I know. Everyone loves a good 5-year plan. But here's the catch. By always focusing on what's next, you're missing out on what's right in front of you. The immediate needs, the small moments, the things that matter right now. Yes, trust me on this. Sometimes it's not about where you're going, but about making sure you're living well in the moment. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, "But I need to have a plan," I get it. We've all been there. You're juggling so many responsibilities and trying to build something bigger for the future. It's easy to get caught in the trap of always striving for the next milestone, whether it's a promotion, buying a house, or just getting through the week. But here's the kicker. Constantly chasing long-term goals can leave you feeling like you're running on a treadmill, exhausting yourself without ever truly feeling like you're getting anywhere. You know the type. Always hustling, always moving, but never stopping to check in with how you're really doing. We've all been there. So here's the twist. Focus on your immediate needs. What do you need right now to be okay? It could be something as simple as a few minutes of quiet time, getting a solid meal, or having a conversation with a friend who gets you. The truth is, by focusing on the small, immediate things, you're not just surviving, you're setting yourself up for a better long-term future. When you take care of your present self, you build the foundation for your future success. It's like filling your cup before trying to pour into others. I'll give you a real-life example. A few months ago, I was in the middle of a big project. I had all these long-term goals in mind, but I was burnt out. My to-do list was a mile long, and I kept pushing myself harder and harder, thinking that if I just powered through, I'd eventually catch up. But something wasn't right. I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So I took a step back and asked myself, what do I need right now to feel better? Turns out, all I needed was a solid night's sleep and some time to connect with friends. I focused on those immediate needs instead of pushing for perfection. And guess what? I came back to the project with a clear mind and new energy, ready to tackle it with fresh eyes. The results? Way better than if I had kept going in my exhausted state. Here's the thing. This is about reclaiming your peace. Focusing on the present doesn't mean you're giving up on the future. It means you're respecting yourself enough to show up fully in the moment. You're giving yourself permission to recharge, reflect, and align with your true needs, not just with the endless grind. When you take care of yourself now, you set yourself up to actually achieve your long-term goals in a sustainable way, rather than burning out halfway through. So here's the takeaway. Your space, your peace, and your dignity don't depend on how far ahead you're planning. They depend on how well you're living right now. When you focus on your immediate needs, you're not just staying afloat, you're building a better tomorrow. And that, my friend, is the kind of success that really matters. Number 4, put ego aside and lead with vulnerability. Here's a game changer. Put your ego aside and lead with vulnerability. Yes, you heard me right. In a world that tells us to be strong, confident, and always have our act together, leading with vulnerability might sound a bit, well, risky. But let me tell you something. It's actually the most powerful move you can make. Now, you might be thinking, wait, if I show vulnerability, won't people see me as weak? Trust me on this one. Vulnerability is the new strength. Think about it. We've all been there, right? In a tough situation where we're trying to save face, trying to appear like we have it all under control, even when we're falling apart inside. Maybe it's at work, where everyone expects you to have all the answers. Or in a relationship, where showing any hint of uncertainty feels like it'll open the floodgates of judgment. You know the type, always pretending to have it together, masking insecurities, and trying to look perfect. We've all been there. But here's the twist. Leading with vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of authenticity. When you drop the facade and open up, people connect with you. They see the real you, the human side, and it's that connection that makes you stronger, not less. Leading with vulnerability means acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, that you're figuring things out just like everyone else. It's a quiet kind of confidence, one that invites others to do the same, to be real and honest. Let me give you a real-life example. A while ago, I was leading a project at work, and we were hitting roadblock after roadblock. It wasn't going the way I had planned, and honestly, I felt like I was failing. Normally, I would have kept everything to myself, hidden behind my usual "I've got this" attitude. But this time I decided to be honest with the team. I told them, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. I don't have all the answers, but I need your help." The response was immediate, and it wasn't what I expected. Instead of losing respect for me, the team rallied together. They were more open, more collaborative, and the energy shifted from frustration to problem solving. We not only turned things around, but ended up creating something even better than I had envisioned. Vulnerability in this case wasn't a weakness. It was the spark that led to growth and connection. Here's the truth. This is about reclaiming your peace and your power. When you stop hiding behind your ego, you create space for growth. Vulnerability allows you to be yourself without the fear of judgment. It's about freeing yourself from the pressure of perfection and embracing the messy, imperfect process of becoming. When you show up authentically, you stop wasting energy trying to maintain a facade, and you start putting that energy into what truly matters, building genuine relationships and creating meaningful work. So here's the takeaway. Your space, your peace, and your dignity don't depend on your ego. They depend on your ability to be vulnerable. The more you lead with vulnerability, the more you empower yourself and those around you. You'll find that the world respects you more for your authenticity than for any mask you wear. Vulnerability doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. And that's the kind of strength that lasts. Number 5. Stop trying to fix your partner. Here's the truth that might sting a little. Stop trying to fix your partner. Yes, I'm serious. The moment you decide your partner needs to be fixed is the moment you stop accepting them for who they truly are. Now, you might be thinking, but I only want the best for them. And I get it. We all want to help those we care about improve, but there's a fine line between being supportive and trying to reshape someone into what you think they should be. Yes, trust me on this. Sometimes love means stepping back and letting them grow on their own terms. You know the type, right? We've all been there, thinking we can help our partner be a better version of themselves. Maybe it's encouraging them to take that job they don't want, or pointing out the ways they could be more organized. You probably even think, if I just guide them through this, they'll realize how much better it could be. We get frustrated when they don't change as quickly or in the exact way we imagine. But here's the kicker. Your partner isn't a project. They are a person with their own needs, desires, and growth process. And you can't rush that. So here's the twist. What if instead of fixing, you started accepting? Think about it. When you stop trying to mold your partner, you actually give them the space to be themselves. You create room for them to grow in their own time, without the pressure of meeting your expectations. The psychological truth here is that when we feel accepted for who we are more likely to evolve and grow. It's the difference between feeling pressured to change and feeling empowered to change. Let me give you a personal example. A while ago, I was in a relationship where I kept trying to fix little things, like the way my partner organized their day or how they handled certain challenges. I thought I was helping, but instead, I was making them feel inadequate. It wasn't until I realized this that things started to shift. I stopped offering unsolicited advice and started simply listening. The change was subtle, but over time, I noticed my partner beginning to take initiative, solve their own problems, and grow in ways that felt organic. They felt respected, heard, and free to improve at their own pace. And guess what? They ended up evolving in a way that was more authentic than anything I could have imposed. Here's the emotional payoff. This is about reclaiming your peace and letting go of control. When you stop trying to fix your partner, you stop carrying the weight of their potential. You begin to realize that their growth is not your responsibility, but something they are capable of on their own. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you show care in a way that empowers them rather than diminishes their sense of self-worth. So here's your takeaway. Your partner is not your project. They're your equal, your companion. The more you love and accept them as they are, the more they will flourish. Not because you pushed them, but because you gave them the freedom to be themselves. So let go of the idea that you need to fix everything. Your space, your peace, and your dignity will flourish when you stop trying to change someone else and simply love them for who they truly are. That's when the magic happens. Number 6, give less advice, offer more actions. Here's a game changer for you. Give less advice, offer more actions. Sounds simple, right? But trust me, this one shift could completely change the way you connect with people, especially in tough situations. Now, you might be thinking, but I just want to help. And I get it. Advice feels like the natural thing to offer when you see someone struggling. But here's the catch. Advice isn't always what people need. Sometimes they need you to show them the way, not tell them how to walk it. You know the type. The friend or family member who's always ready with a piece of advice when things get tough. Maybe they've got the perfect solution to fix your problems, but you're not asking for solutions. You're asking for support, understanding, and sometimes just someone to be there. We've all been there, right? Wanting to help, but feeling like we missed the mark. That's because, more often than not, advice, especially when unsolicited, can feel overwhelming or dismissive. It's as if someone's telling you what's wrong with you rather than offering a way to help you figure it out yourself. So here's the shift. Instead of offering advice, think about offering your actions. It's about showing up and doing something meaningful without the expectation of solving everything. For example, if a friend is overwhelmed with work, instead of telling them to just take a break or organize better, offer to help them with a small task, or just spend time with them to ease their load. The reason this works is simple. Actions create a shared experience that builds trust and connection, while advice can feel like a lecture or a criticism. The psychological magic here is that actions are tangible, and people feel more supported when they experience help rather than just hearing about it. Let me tell you about a time I learned this the hard way. A few months ago, a close friend was going through a rough patch. They were stressed, overwhelmed, and I couldn't stand to see them suffer. Naturally, I started offering all sorts of advice, what they could do differently, how they should handle things. But all I got in return were polite nods and a sense that they weren't really taking in anything I said. It wasn't until I stopped talking and just asked, "What can I do right now to make things easier?" that things shifted. I didn't solve their problems, but I spent an afternoon helping with something small, like running errands or simply listening. And that was the moment I felt like I'd truly supported them, and they told me they appreciated my presence more than anything else. Here's the thing, actions speak louder than words, especially when someone's struggling. When you give less advice and offer more actions, you're creating space for people to breathe, for them to feel heard and supported. You're validating their experience without imposing your solution on them. This approach not only helps them feel empowered, but it also empowers you. Instead of feeling like you're burdened with solving someone else's problems, you're contributing in a way that feels real and meaningful. So here's your takeaway. Next time someone comes to you with a problem, ask yourself, how can I show up, not just talk about it? Whether it's offering help, providing a listening ear, or doing something small that lightens their load, your actions will make more impact than any advice ever could. Your space, your peace, and your dignity will grow as you shift from being a source of answers to a source of action. And that's the real power in connecting with others. Thank you so much for watching. I truly hope this video gave you some fresh insights and practical tools to start building stronger, more meaningful relationships. If you found this video valuable, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to keep creating content like this. And if you're looking for more videos on similar topics, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. If you know someone who could benefit from these ideas, don't hesitate to share this video with them. It might just be the spark they need. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and share your personal experiences or any tips you found helpful in building better relationships. Let's keep the conversation going. Remember, building strong relationships isn't about perfection. It's about taking actionable steps, staying adaptable, and always moving forward. So keep embracing that pragmatic approach and know that with the right mindset, you have everything you need to make meaningful connections. Until next time, take care and stay empowered.